Welcome everybody to Modder's Got Talent. In this video, we're taking a look at PsychorGames. Psychor continues to be one of the most underrated creators on the Nexus, despite having created many revolutionary mods for Fallout New Vegas. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at as many of them as we possibly can. And hopefully by the end, you'll have a lot more appreciation for this man. So without further ado, let's start the show. Let's start with the mod Unarmed and Melee Revolution. This mod will add a handful of perks to the game that'll greatly enhance the viability of the unarmed and melee skills. First, you'll unlock the most amusing out of the bunch, Diving Attack. This perk grants you the ability to perform a diving body splash when falling from great heights, knocking out or killing your enemies in a single hit. To perform this maneuver, keep your crosshair on the target, walk off the ledge, and press the attack button. You can also perform a diving kick if you jump off the ledge instead. You'll need to be completely unarmed for this to work. This one turns all of the King of the Ring fights into a joke. Power Parry just makes NPCs fall on their dumbass faces when they attack you whilst you're blocking. Quite OP, as you can see from the demonstration on the Monster of the East. If you thought the last perk was overpowered, combine it with Duck and Weave, then your defense will be impenetrable. With this perk, you'll take significantly reduced damage for a brief moment when crouching. Even if you're facing a Deathclaw, you're still gonna make it out alive if you duck and weave. Alright, maybe not, but it's still quite OP. Even if you're being shot with literal bullets, you'll still be fine. Berserker will grant you a copious amount of XP for every enemy you kill with melee, unarmed, or throwing weapons. Ferocious Fighter will occasionally slow down your surroundings when you land a melee or unarmed attack, but you will remain at normal speed, so it's kind of like the turbo effect. And finally, by far the most OP perk is Warrior. It'll make you one-hit enemies whilst wearing Brotherhood of Steel power armor, Great Khan armor, or Legion armor. This is quite ridiculous, you can literally just one-hit a Deathclaw. If I'm being completely honest, the most fun perk is Diving Attack, and everything else is just ridiculous or OP. Duck and Weave wouldn't be so bad either, but the sound effect when you crouch is just so annoying. So if you're looking to roleplay as a professional high-flying wrestler, I highly recommend this mod. Next, we've got Gunfu. This is the mod that puts PsychorGames on the radar for me. It'll add a bunch of stunt moves that you can perform whilst firing your weapon, making for action movie style moments. You can get really creative with how you handle combat situations with this. Let's dive into a bit more detail about the mod. You won't have the option to choose what stunt to perform, just double click the crouch button and you'll do a random dive, roll, or slide. Every direction though has its own animations and they'll all cost action points. When you dodge, the likelihood of NPCs hitting you is reduced. You can also knock down NPCs with these maneuvers if they're close enough and if you have a high enough unarmed skill. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about Gunfu. The mod is pretty useful as a dodge mechanic to help you get into cover or flee from combat situations. The cool action sequences won't be common, but it's very amusing when they do happen. I don't think I've done the best job at showcasing this mod, but Psychor has, so check out his video on the mod instead. Let's look at a simpler mod, Awesome Staggering. All this mod does is replace every stagger animation in the game with more appropriate animations. NPCs will no longer just flinch when you cripple a limb, instead they'll fall to the ground or react in a way which looks like they're actually in pain from getting shot. You might get the impression that those animations will slow down NPCs in combat, but it's actually the other way around. Some of these animations play faster than vanilla ones. There's also a more outlandish version of the mod called Extreme Staggering. It's the same concept, but with more ridiculous animations. Anyway, if you like what you see, be on the lookout because Psychor is planning to release more realistic stagger animations sometime in the future. Have you ever looked at a certain NPC and wondered what it would be like if they were your companion, traveling along with you on your misadventures? Or maybe you've always wanted a certain animal in the game to be your pet. Either way, with Hire and Recruit 2, you'll be able to make almost any NPC into a follower. This is how you do it. Look into your weapons inventory, equip the recruiting contract, speak to whatever friendly NPC you'd like to hire, and you'll be met with requirements, whether it be caps or a high enough skill level. However, if you have a high enough affinity with a faction, say Kaiser's Legion for example, you'll be able to hire legionaries for free, sort of like how recruiting gang members works in GTA San Andreas. Make sure to assign your hired guns a class. This will make them more proficient at what it is you hired them to do. For example, if you assign them the Medic class, they're gonna heal your other recruits for you. You'll also have the choice to train your recruits and make them more skilled at the cost of caps. One final detail is if you have paid for an NPC's services, but they die, you'll get most of your caps back. This mod will even work on modded NPCs, but not all of them. I also noticed that when you recruit Benny, all his bodyguards will still follow him, so it's like hiring a dozen NPCs at the price of one. This mod is awesome. You can gather up an army of super mutants to aid you in clearing Black Mountain. Get together with a bunch of NCR soldiers and ambush the Legion. Get a hand from the Kings to wipe out the Van Graffs and so on. Or maybe you're like me and you'd like to tame a bunch of Brahmin, buy your own ranch, and settle down. And that's it. Those are all the mods that I'm going to be showcasing in detail in the video. But Psychor's made many original and unique mods. He's like obsessed with crippling effects and crippling in the game. So he's made a bunch of mods about that. Anyway, go check out PsychorGames' profile and give him some kudos. And now I'm going to be passing the mic to none other than PsychorGames himself. I've chosen a few of your questions and he's about to answer them.
Hello, my name is Psychor, or PsychorGames, and I'm a modder for Fallout New Vegas. A couple questions have come from my good friend Mutant Mods on YouTube. They come from his YouTube community. I'm going to answer them today. Question number 1. What inspired you to start modding? Honestly, I love Fallout New Vegas, but there are aspects of it that I really wanted to change. Mainly, I wanted to make adjustments to how realistic and cinematic it was, because one of my other favorite games is The Last of Us. And I like Max Payne, and I like these other sort of really realistic and gritty, but also dramatic gunfight games. So I wanted to make that a part of New Vegas. So that's part of the reason that I started modding. Also, it's just kind of a cool skill to have, so that's neat. Basically, New Vegas, one of my favorite aspects of it is the fact that it's got a lot of cool roleplay ability. It's got a great setting and it's got a great story, and I love the fact that you can make friends with factions. There's a lot to love about Fallout New Vegas. Also, there's a lot to criticize, mostly the janky engine and the animations. You know, that's what I'm working on as well to try to fix. But when I started out, I wanted to make the combat a little bit more dramatic and realistic. That's why I started in the first place. Where/how did you learn how to mod? I learned how to mod primarily by utilizing the invaluable resource, which is the Gek wiki. But secondarily, and almost as important, was my ability to download other people's mods and just look at the source code. I would just take bits and pieces of the text in their source code that worked, and I would just basically plagiarize it a little bit. Maybe I didn't plagiarize it. I took what worked and I injected it into my own mod, changed it up a little, remixed it, and edited it so that the functions that they put in their mods would work for mine. So basically, yeah, that's how I started out at the beginning. I did that a lot for the Hire and Recruit mod. Somebody else had made a very similar recruitment mod, and I had a couple problems with it, especially the fact that they didn't have good grammar. That's why I made Hire and Recruit. Last question reads, how do you stop yourself from reaching burnout when modding? Answer is pretty short and pretty simple. You just take breaks, you know. I don't think it's a secret that a lot of modders in the New Vegas community can be kind of unhinged, and I've got a feeling that might be partially due to the terrible engine. It has induced fits of rage in me, I'm not going to lie, working with this shitty engine. I mean, I've never made a game engine myself before, but I think I'm well within my right to criticize the Gamebryo engine and how god-awful it is. I think that's the reason that some modders go crazy. Also, sometimes comments can be hurtful, especially when it comes to bug fixes and people constantly saying, oh, this or that doesn't work, can you fix this, or making recommendations that are well beyond the capabilities of certain modders. It can be disheartening, especially in the past. Now it's not that big of a deal because the Nexus and especially the Fallout New Vegas community has kind of calmed down. Thankfully, I haven't had to deal with a lot of that. Mostly my frustrations come from the terrible fucking Gamebryo engine. You avoid burnout by taking breaks, whether it's a week or a few months or, yeah, any duration that you feel is comfortable. But anyway, I'm glad to have answered your questions, Mutant Mods. If you're going to do anything, leave comments on my videos and leave comments on the Nexus, because that is what keeps me going. I really love seeing those comments. I make a lot of these mods basically for myself and for myself to enjoy, and I want to make New Vegas look inspiring. The other reason that I make mods is because I just have an ego, you know, everybody does, and I just love seeing comments on the YouTube and the Nexus and the stuff like that. But I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you for hosting me, and goodbye.